Hi guys, hope everyone's having a wonderful morning today. Today I want to talk about a super duper overpriced console that kind of bombed. It is the Panasonic 3Do. This baby came out in 1993, super expensive, $700 US, crazy amount of money. It was a big conglomeration of no EA was involved, Samsung Creative Labs, Sanyo, Gold Star. Hugely overpriced console. It was ahead of its time. It was a powerhouse. There's limited games on this. It did not sell well. It was only out, I think, 3 years from like 93 to 96. However, there are a lot of games on this that are BOLOs. They're worth lots of money. It's a really tough one to collect because you don't see many of these consoles. And when you do, they're super expensive still. I've seen a few in the box and only a few. And every time I see them, they are hugely expensive, guys. So we're going to go over a few BOLOs on this system. You can keep a lookout for it in the WildNet thrift stores. If you want to start your collection, it's also a good gauge of how much you're going to spend on this stuff. Let's get to her. First up, hugely expensive game. It's called Lucian's Quest. Again, I don't know a lot about these games. It was a very limited system. This video is going to be mostly about the prices. This Lucian's Quest game, hugely expensive, $1,700 brand new, and then you can see there's a couple that were $14.27. They took offers, I'm assuming probably in the 13s or so. If you see this game, definitely pick it up. The chance of you seeing some of these are pretty slim, but you just never know, honestly. You never know what garage you're going to stumble across this stuff in. Next up, we have Alone in the Dark. As you can see here, I'll go over the prices quick, guys. $49.99, $42, and then $185 the big box. And all these 3DO games, it's usually the big box ones that are worth more. So yeah, it's not a huge BOLO for this. It's something that you could actually go out and probably buy for your own collection, not spend a whole bunch of money on. Next up is BC Eraser. So I don't know if these are all PAL games. I don't think they are. I believe the top one is because it came from the UK. $70 in the small case. And then the big box went for $400 brand new, and then $65 pre-owned in a small box. I don't know what this game is about. I'm assuming Caveman or something it looks like. Probably more geared towards kids. Hard to say. Good BOLO on the system. Next up is BioFury. As you can see here, brand new, $42. And then the large box we have in the middle here at $392 and a large box at $399. Now the two large boxes are brand new. Pretty expensive game on the platform. The top one for $42 and the small one. It's a PAL game, obviously. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't know why this says Doom Wolfenstein first-person shooter. Maybe it's something like that. I'm assuming it is. Keep an eye out for BioFury. Next up, we have Blade Force. The top one is probably a PAL version, guys, at $46. And then you can see the big box brand new, for $84. Seems like a pretty good deal. And then $20 for the disc manual case only. Not a too bad price on this one, actually. For having a brand new in the box with a cool cover like that, I think $84 is actually a pretty good price. Interesting cover on this. Next one up is Captain Quasar. 90s styled stuff here, very stylized cover. As you can see, the top one, $149.99. The big box went for $142, and then $146 from the UK, probably the PAL version, of course. So all in that $140 price range. I would definitely try to get the big box if I was paying that, seeing how they're all around the same price. Next up, we have Cyber Dillo. I'm assuming this is supposed to be some sort of armadillo bird thing, it looks like. Maybe mixed with a robot. Now, there's not too many listed on eBay. As you can see, I only found 2 comps for it. $475 pre-owned and $142 pre-owned. No disc for the bottom box, though, so that's probably why it's so cheap, of course. Cool game to pick up. Nice one to add to the collection. Next up is Daedalus Encounter. Not a super expensive game here. Neat cover. Kind of reminds me of like Perfect Dark Zero and that sort of genre. $99 for the big box, and then $42, but no disc in that one, obviously. And then complete in the small one is $41.41. I apologize. I need to turn off my messenger. We're getting tons of messages today. Next up is Death Keep. I'm assuming this is kind of a horror game. Kind of looks like a frog dude or something. I'm not too sure what's going on. The long box went for $185. And then the 2 smaller ones are both $35, pretty much for the game only. And then the manuals with the top one, of course. Not a hugely expensive game. This would be one that I would probably keep for myself. I think it just looks neat. I really like the old art designs of these covers. They're really interesting. And I'm going to start getting into more of the older stuff as I collect more. Next up is a timeless classic. It's Doom. As you can see, there's the two small disc cases here. No big box ones that I've seen. This one went for 121. This one was 147. It's a PAL version, so they're both around the same price. There's not a huge disparity there. Definitely one you should be able to find out and about, especially at thrift stores, and the gaming stores should have these if you guys are looking for Doom on this platform. Next up, we have Fatty Bear Birthday Surprise. I don't know, kind of weird. I'm not sure if this is a kid's game or just a cartoony game geared towards adults, guys. As you can see, it's a pretty expensive one, $49 for the bottom one, and then $142 and $214 for the big box. The top one would be the one to get. Looks like it's mint, has a registration card with it as well. Keep an eye out for that one. All right, we're moving along to the next one, which is Jurassic Park. This game came out on numerous versions, numerous consoles. It's usually a pretty good seller, honestly. Not always worth a ton of money. And it's not worth a ton of money here, but it's still pretty decent. $78 for a used big box is a good deal for any 3DO game, in my opinion. And you can see a brand new one and then a pre-owned one at the top. So just keep an eye out for it. You will find this one. We have Killing Time. So as you can see, case and manual only is $35. Complete appears to be $82, and then the big bottom, it looks like this is pretty much brand new with a bit of a torn seal, went for $450. This is a really cool looking cover. Games that look like this, even if they're not that good, are just usually highly sought after just because they look really cool, and it's stuff people want on their shelves, guys. We have Love Bites. This was the only example I could find on eBay for this game. It says adult 3DO game, so it might have been just one of those really out there ones. Looked kind of like vampire type stuff. It went for $152. Appears to be complete. No big box, of course. I'm sure if this had the big box, it'd probably be like a $300 or $400 type game. But yeah, just one to keep an eye out for. This game on other platforms, I'm not too sure if it was a 32X or what, but it is Night Trap. As you can see, the bottom one is $164 from Japan, and the top one is $164 with bids from the UK. I would definitely go for the long box. I'm assuming these are both PAL versions, guys, so just keep that in mind. It may have not have released in the US. I'm not too sure. Another interesting one. Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. This was the only one I've seen on eBay. I have no idea what the thing is about it. It's probably just one of those weird, rare games. Again, $200 is crazy for just a disc game like this. I don't know. I honestly don't know who's paying the money for this stuff. I don't know who can afford to collect all this stuff. Next up, we have PO'd. Weird looking cover, just text on it that looks like goopy stuff. Not too sure what it's about. As you can see, the top one complete, we got $60, and then the middle one is also complete, $55, and then the long box is double the value at $106. Interesting looking cover, not too sure what it's about. I often wonder what some of these games actually play like, because they've made so many, you really don't have time to play them all. It'd be interesting to sit down with like 10 or 20 and just pop them in for an hour each, you know, for a week and see what they're like. Next up, we have Police Knots. As you can see, the top version, they got $185. Now, this one says something about a mouse pad, so maybe it came with a mouse pad or something inside the game. Not too sure. Something you can Google yourself. And then here we have a couple that say Japan imports, so I'm assuming maybe all these games came from Japan. Probably did. $47.92. Not a hugely expensive game, but definitely interesting looking, and I guess if you found the one with the mouse pad, it'd be worth 3 or 4 times more. Next up is a multi-plat classic. It's Primal Rage. This is an awesome looking cover. $257 on the big box. The middle we have case, manual disc for $78, and then another $250 for a big box. This would be an awesome one to add to a collection. This is one I would not sell. I would keep it myself if I ever do come across it. Next up's a classic Egyptian title. It is Seal of the Pharaoh. As you can see, the bottom one, 12 bids, $156, and then the middle one, the box is pretty damaged up there, $128, buy it now, and then one at $95, buy it now, disc case manual, no big box. So yeah, the big box, if you had it really nice, I'm going to say you'd probably get at least that $156, maybe more, given that the damaged one went for $128. Neat game. I do like the ancient Egyptian stuff. It's very interesting. Next up is Shadow War of Secession. This one are all big box examples. It went from $114, $142, $149. They all appear to be fairly complete here, guys. So I'm assuming 140 is probably going to be the ballpark for this one. Again, another cool looking cover. I should check and see how many games actually made for this 3DO. I'm sure it wasn't a lot because it didn't have a huge lifespan. It didn't sell very well. Next up, we have Shockwave. The top version here, we got $21. It looks like just the disc and manual. And then the whole case here is $238. Now this would be a PAL version, obviously, in the middle one. And then the bottom one, $11.41 from the US. So I'm assuming the PAL version has a little more value on this one, guys. It doesn't appear that the NTSC one does. Next up is Slayer. I believe this is a D&D offshoot. Really cool looking game. Looks like a demon on the front with some fire and other weird stuff going on here. New other 81s, so probably mint, I would say. The big box version, you're looking at 171. There's no inserts with that, however. And the bottom one, we're at 110. So yeah, if you can find the big box one, expect to get $170, $200 on this, guys. Cool game. D&D stuff will always sell, and it'll keep on selling. It has a huge following. Next up is Slopestyle. I could only find one of these on eBay currently that's sold. It's sold for $215. It says new, so it looks pretty mint to me. Just a snowboarder game. Back in the 90s, snowboarding was a huge thing. I don't think it's the same as it was then. Snowboarding and skateboarding were just massive. So, Tony Hawk and stuff like this usually sells pretty well. Next up is Snow Job with Tracy Scoggins. I don't know who that is. I don't know what this game is about. It could be like skiing or, snowboarding. I don't know. Could be tobogganing for all the hell I know. Top one is $232. Bottom one, $285 in the big box. Yeah, just a weird game. This might be a game you might find at a pawn shop or something that's not priced super high if they didn't look it up, just because it kind of looks like a shitty game. Next up is Star Control 2. I believe this is a multi-plat game as well, guys. As you can see, the bottom one in the box, new others, so that's, pretty minty, I would say. $257. The middle one's $214, and then $78 on the top. So yeah, anywhere the big boxes, you're going to get, $210, $220 and up, depending on how good the grade is. Pretty interesting looking game, probably just like a space shooter. They made a lot of these for the old systems. Next up is a huge game, Super Street Fighter 2. This was multi-plat. The Street Fighter games, everyone knows about them. I'm sure you guys do too. As you can see on the top, $84 for the disc version. $9 for the middle one, and then $229 for the full boxed version. So yeah, just a game to keep an eye out. I'm sure they did make a ton of these ones. If they did have anything on this console, it would be a game like this. Next up is Supreme Warrior. Not a hugely expensive game, a game you could easily add to your collection. As you can see in the top, they got 3 bids at 38, and then 78 and 51. So I would assume like the 55 to 75 is probably the range this game would go in. The top one is a bid, of course, so I mean it's going to be a little less. It says untested too, so it could be a little bit scratchy. So take it with a grain of salt. I would expect to get like $60 for this. Next up is a pretty rare game. It's called the Coven. I'm assuming it's sort of like Magic, maybe vampire-y stuff. I believe this came out on the 32X2. Don't quote me on that. $277 on this one, so probably the PAL version, obviously, and in the small box. So if by chance they made it in the big box, it would probably be worth considerably more, maybe like $500 or something. One is a big time classic, Wolfenstein 3D. All these Wolfenstein games are still being made. I think Bethesda took it over, bought it. Maybe they're making them now. I can't remember. Top one, we got 121, and then 142, and then 135. I don't see any big box version here, guys, so I'm assuming they would have made it. Again, the big box, you can pretty much guarantee something like this will probably double in value, so you might be that $250 to $300 range. It's a game you'd probably want to put in your collection, though, just because it's a big name. And to round this one off with Woody Woodpecker. The top one sealed and the small one is 142, 350. This was a bundle deal, and then 640 in a bundle deal. So prices are varying on this. If you get the bundle, it's worth a lot more. I don't know if they made this in a long box or not. It's really hard to tell, guys. But it's just one I would keep an eye out on anyways. You never know. On that note, that's the BOLO 3DO list. Pretty big. I do apologize if I was rambling on there a little bit. There was a lot of games to go over. Again, just to reiterate, very expensive console when it came out. And you have to understand, back in 93 to 96, $600, $700 US was a huge amount of money for something like this. I can see why it bombed, because the average console back then, you were probably $200 or $300, I think, for like Xbox, PS2 type things. And I'm sure they were just as advanced, if not more than this. But anyways, they took a kick at the can. They lost. I'm sure they lost a ton of money, these companies, on this. So it's a game that's rare. The system is rare. If you do find it, I would definitely pick it up. I'm hoping I can add one to my collection someday, just by chance. We will see. If I ever do, I'll let you know. I hope everyone's having an awesome day. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like the content. I will see you on the next one. Peace.